Okay, students, so you just filled out the KWL chart, the know and the want to learn section. So as we read this book, I want you to be focusing on the questions that you want to learn about oceans. And as I'm reading this, I don't want you to be looking at this video, but instead to be following along with your finger as I read the words. This is Oceans, the Vast Mysterious Deep, by David L. Harrison and Cheryl Nathan. The blue whale may weigh 300,000 pounds. It is the largest animal that has ever lived, and it lives in oceans around the world. More than 70% of the Earth is covered by oceans: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Antarctic, and Arctic. The Pacific is so enormous that all the land in the world could fit inside it. Where did so much water come from? When Earth was young, steam escaped through openings in its hot surface and rose as vapor. Sometimes comets struck the planet and added more vapor. The vapor cooled into drops of water and fell in heavy rain. Low places filled with water and became the first seas. Today's oceans average over 2 miles deep. Now the water supply is used over and over. Vapor from the ocean moves in clouds and falls from the sky as rain or snow. Most water that reaches land flows downhill in rivers or under the ground and finally returns to the sea. Salt from soil and rocks turns the seawater salty. The ocean shelf leads out from shore. More plants and animals live there than anywhere else in the ocean. Around the world, people depend on tuna, cod, herring, shrimp, crabs, lobsters, and other creatures living there by the millions. Farther out, beyond the shelf, lives the deep, black bottom of the sea. Most of it is flat and covered by sandy mud. Without sunlight, plants cannot grow. The pressure above from so much water would squash most creatures. Nevertheless, animals do live on the bottom. Strange animals that eat one another or search for ooze for crumbs that settle there. Not all the floor is flat. In other places, the floor buckles into deep trenches. In the Pacific Ocean, the Marianas Trench lies nearly 7 miles below the surface. An elevator would take 10 hours to reach the bottom. Many of the world's tallest mountains thrust up through miles of water to break the surface as islands. Chains of volcanoes, thousands of miles long, string across the Atlantic. Rock so hot it melts, boils from holes and cracks. As the liquid cools, new floor forms and old floor spreads apart. When the floor shakes from earthquakes or violent volcanoes, shocks may send long waves called tsunamis racing across the water, hundreds of miles per hour. Tsunami waves cause great harm, crashing into the land. Normal waves start with wind across the water. They begin small, building as they go. In warm water, strong winds make extra vapor that feeds growing storms. Some severe storms, called hurricanes, typhoons, or cyclones, grow hundreds of miles wide. They howl across the water like tops, whirling 150 miles per hour, throwing waves 100 feet high. But even in calm weather, the ocean is never still. Wind on the surface moves water in currents. The Gulf Stream current flows 100 miles or more per day like a wide river across the Atlantic to the British Isles. Water gets heavier when it cools. In freezing climates, cold surface water sinks and creeps along in deep, slow currents. In the Arctic Ocean around the North Pole, water freezes into ice. Huge chunks called icebergs break off and float away. Glaciers build when thick layers of snow pack into ice. They slide slowly into the sea and split off as icebergs. Monsters the size of Rhode Island can happen near the South Pole and the Antarctic Ocean. The ocean also moves in tides. When the moon is above the sea, its gravity pulls water away from the shore. We say the tide goes out. When the moon circles on, the tide flows back. The sun's gravity also moves the tides. We depend on the ocean. We travel across it, live and play on its shores, fish and trap for food, gather its pearls, take its minerals, oils, and salt. But every year we pollute the ocean and harm its plants and animals. We kill dolphins in our nets and catch so many fish that some kinds are lost forever. Once there were 200,000 blue whales. Today, 5,000 are left. We must learn to take better care. Without the ocean, our lives could never be the same. The end. Okay, so now what I want you guys to do is to fill out the What You Learned section of the KWL. You can talk together as a group and do the poster together, and then it will be time to rotate.